Hello, everybody. I hope all is well. Of course, I am Demetra K of the Demetra K Show. Now, listen, I know I'm not normally here on Friday, and as I always say on Thursday, I'm off on Friday and Saturday unless something happens that I feel like I need to come on here for. And unfortunately, we have learned of the passing of Assata Shakur. Of course, many of us know and knew who she is, but I kind of want to talk about her because as I was thinking about it, and I was, pretty touched up behind learning it because I drew a lot of inspiration from Assata Shakur. But we'll get into that. And then I was thinking about some other stuff. And I kind of hesitated to even talk about it from this angle because I know how people feel, about the whole black and brown thing. But I kind of just want to have a conversation about it. But nevertheless, the purpose of the Demetra K Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. I'd like to say a big giant thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also, thank you so much to my moderators who I do not see here yet, but, supposed to be off today, right? But perhaps they'll show up. But anyway, I love and appreciate them dearly. So yes, today we're going to be talking about the time Black and Brown unity worked for Assata Shakur. Again, we've learned that she has passed on. So we're going to have a conversation. I don't know if I'll be here an hour, but I always say that, and I always am. So we'll wait for other people to come on, as I know I'm not supposed to be here today, but I want to talk to those who show up, right? Anyway, Albie Chill, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. King Noble, what is going on with you? Yes. That's one of my favorite songs, and my favorite song from Common. So yes, indeed. I like Chocolate for Water, name of the album, or something like that. So anyway, you say a song for Assata by Common is always spinning in my playlist. Rest in peace, Queen. They can't hurt you now. Yes, indeed. I totally agree with you. Ernest, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Greater achievements. What's going on with you? I haven't seen you in a long time. Emmanuel, what is up? Says Rip to Assata. Yes, indeed. Brother Salam, hope you're doing well. He says Allah Rockbar. It says our beautiful Black sister is finally free. Yes, indeed. Simo, how you doing? He says hi. I'm currently reading her book. Yes, says before I read Tupac. May they both rest in peace in paradise. Yes, I actually read the book in the 90s, so probably close to 30 years ago at this point. And I would say it was one of the books that completely changed my life. One of the books. Very good read, very just like a roller coaster type of read, but it's just one of the best books that I've ever read. And if you've never read Assata, an autobiography, you should. Really good book. Very courageous woman who went through a whole lot. And as I said, if you're not inspired by her story, I don't know what to tell you. And of course, I know there's some blemishes, if you will. And I'm gonna, tell her life a little bit as much as I can. Jersey Rick, how you doing? Hope you're well. Blue Exodus, how you doing? Naima, what's going on with you? Steven, what's going on? It says shalom to all my brothers and sisters all over the diaspora. Absolutely. Albert Chill says the folks even more salty now. Too bad, so sad. Constance, how you doing? Says Assata was brave and yes, an inspiration. Rip, my sister. Yes, indeed. Arneva, how you doing? Hope that you are well. So let's not realize that it's Friday and people, have a lot going on, but that's okay. We are here, right? Freddie B. So, all right, I've tap danced long enough. Let's get into it for the sake of time. So today we learned via her daughter that she passed away. Let me remove this really quick. We learned that she passed away. So it says approximately 1:15 p.m. on September 25th, my mother, Assata Shakur, took her last earthly breath. Words cannot describe the depth of loss that I am feeling at this time. I want to thank you for your loving prayers that continue to anchor me in the strength that I need in this moment. My spirit is overflowing in unison with all of you who are grieving with me at this time. Sending much love and appreciation to you all. Kakuya Shakur. So I'm gonna let me put this back up here. Leave that up there for just a moment or two. So again, that is her only daughter. And then we'll get into all of that in just a second. But just a brief history of those who don't know who she is, right? Or who she was. She was born Joanna Deborah Byron in 1947, later became Joanne Chesimard. She said Joanne, not Joanna. Chesimard, and then later Assata Shakur. Now, it basically means, she who struggles, and then her middle name, a love for the people, and last name meaning thankful. And yes, she was the godmother of Tupac Shakur. Now, first she was in the Black Panther Party, but then she went to the Black Liberation Army. Of course, she did some wonderful things with both parties, but unfortunately, she didn't like the direction that the Black Panther Party was going in. So she went to the Black Liberation Army, where she had gotten some trouble. And I say that in quotations because we know that COINTELPRO had been up and running for a very long time, and they targeted Black organizations, right? Because we know that their mission was to stop the rise of a Black Messiah and to stop Black unity. And so they accused her of bank robberies and just different things like that. So, of course, in May of 1973, on a New Jersey turnpike, her brother Zaid, Malik Shakur, and Sundiata Acoli, they were in the car and they were pulled over. The deputies or troopers, rather, basically had some bogus stop, but there sounds like there was also some warrants because of the robberies and things that they said they did. So, of course, the shootout happened. Now, here it says the New Jersey Turnpike shootout in 1973 involved Black Liberation Army member Assata Shakur and two accomplices who I just told you, leading to the death of State Trooper Warner Foster. Shakur was convicted of first-degree murder, but escaped in 1979, and she kind of went underground for a little bit to 1984, where she resurfaced in Cuba, where she was given political asylum. Now, she was later added to the FBI's most wanted terrorist list. In fact, it sounds like at the time she was the first woman added to that. Now, the incident was highly controversial, with Shakur maintaining her innocence, which we all believe that she was, and maintaining that she was shot while unarmed with her hands raised, and the forensic evidence from the trial and all of that, well, not even from the trial, but just compiled, was like, well, it seems like she was in a seated position when she was shot in her back. And of course, if I didn't already say, Zaid, he was killed on the scene, and Sundiata Acoli just got out in 2022 at the age of 85, right? Now, unfortunately, Assata was given a life sentence plus 33 years. But there was a lot of things that were tainted in the trial. Like, she had an all-white male jury. A lot of the jurors knew the state troopers, right? They were all kind of in like Flynn, if you will, with the state troopers. Just a lot of forensic evidence. They never found their handprints or anything like that on any of the weapons. So just a lot of nonsense that went on. But again, y'all got to remember, she was on the COINTELPRO's hit list, so they were out for her. And then many who knew her said while she did great things when she was with both organizations, the FBI and this narrative and things like that, they painted her to be like, the mother of terrorism, Black terrorism, if you will. As they said, this big afro and, toting guns and just really just doing the most. But they said that wasn't her, right? But that's what they had to paint her. And so, of course, while she was in Cuba, she was granted political asylum. Now, they said that Castro's government granted political asylum to Assata Shakur in 1984. She had been living in hiding there since her escape from New Jersey prison. Now, it said that some of the homies from the BLA broke her out and took some hostages, and it sounds like they never caught up to them, right? So from that, Cuba's decision to offer Shakur asylum was viewed as a defiant act against the United States. Cuba's rationale was that Shakur's case was politically motivated and her conviction was questionable. This move was consistent with Cuba's long-standing position of aligning itself with what is viewed as revolutionary movements, struggling against the United States oppression, which we know a lot about, right? Now, this grant of political asylum and Cuba's consistent refusal to extradite her to the U.S. remained a source of tension between the two countries for decades. Now, with that, course, we all know about the $2 million bounty that was placed on her head. So it was $1 million from the state of New Jersey, in addition to the FBI. Now, the FBI under the Obama administration in 2013, it says, okay, we'll bet we really want to catch her, right? So we're going to offer $1 million. And so, of course, we've heard the saying, hands off of Assata, right? Because that was more or less like, well, Cuba was like, we're not going to extradite her. Because again, it was a big, FU to the United States government, and especially the Castro administration. They were very sympathetic to the plight of Black Americans, along with that of Che Guevara. So he was like, no, I'm not sending her back. But of course, the bounty was because I guess they wanted somebody to go over there and get her and things like that. Now, of course, she always talked about, because even in the end of the song, A Song for Assata, by Common, he asked her about freedom. And she says, I don't know what that is, right? Because I'm not free. I'm not from the Cuba, although she loved it there, right? But she often missed being in the United States with people that were more like her, right? In her terms, she said African American, but Black Americans. But obviously, she was very grateful to the people of Cuba. She was able to move around and, just live life. Now, she was asked, which to me was a dumb question, right? Why she escaped from the prison. Now, mind you, she was kept in confinement with men, which is partially how she got pregnant. It sounds like she saw somebody she knew from the outside. They were in a holding area type of thing. And that's how she conceived her daughter. I think it was 1974. But while she was in there, they treated her horribly, right? Beat her all the time, did things to her food and, some things she didn't talk about. But solitary confinement just the most. And so she says, yeah, I escaped because I knew I wouldn't survive. I knew, no, it's not Tupac's mom. It's his godmother. And I'm going to get to you guys' comments. But she said, I escaped because, I wasn't going to make it. Right. They gave her life plus 33 years. So she says they were going to take me out of here. Now, mind you, these were grown, men, correctional officers that were doing some of the worst things to her. So she's like, yeah, I had to get out of here. So again, her partners in the BLA, they helped her get out of there. And the rest is history. But of course, they've had like this bloodlust, if you will, for her. Governor Chris Christie, when he was the governor of New Jersey, it was one of the things that he rallied upon. We got to catch her. We got to get her. She's just, America's most wanted. Again, most of the evidence said that she had nothing to do with that. In fact, we know how officers get down. A lot of that seems like it was a setup and they framed them, if you will. But as a lot of you all said, that we are glad, as I said too, I'm sad, that she's gone, but I'm happy that they never got to her. I'm happy that she remained free, in a sense, for the rest of her life, because that was something that a lot of people, especially in New Jersey and things like that, they campaigned on her. Oh, we gotta get her, we gotta get her. That was like gonna be, almost like a coveted prize, if you will, to get Assata. But even like in the trial, there was just so much evidence that was tainted. It was just a lot. Clearly, she didn't do it, but we got to give this officer's family, because the other officer was shot, but he survived. But we got to give them some sort of justice, right? To say that we got her. But again, many people believed that she was set up, and it, all the rest of her life, she says, I'm innocent. I did not do that. So, but to kind of bring this full circle, let me remove this picture. Very beautiful. To bring this full circle with the Black and brown unity. I know, as I said, and I'm going to get to you guys' comments, Black and brown unity really doesn't exist like that. You know what I mean? In the utopian way that we think about it. Does it make sense? But there's been a few times in history, and I look, it's kind of like a long time ago that these so-called Black and brown, where the brown helped the Black type of thing. But in this particular case, it worked in that they saw what Assata was going through, and they knew the United States government. And, Cuba had a lot of issues with the United States government, which is why Cuba operates the way it did, because all these sanctions and things was put on them due to them not letting America do what they wanted. and a whole host of other stuff. And so they, in solidarity with Black people, Assata was very Black. They said, we're going to protect her. We're going to keep these devils, if you will, away from her. And they did a good job of that. And, even when Fidel passed away, they still wrapped their arms around her. It was like, no, we're not giving her up, and do not come over here looking for her. So that one particular time it worked, and I'm glad that it did. But again, as I said, the Cubans, not all of them, right? Because there's some, the ones that left after Bautista got overthrown. The ones that's in Miami, right? Yeah, they didn't care for Black people too much. And in fact, they didn't care for the browner Cubans over there as well. But just thinking about that, I'm glad that it worked, at least with that one time, and they protected and kept her safe until she passed away. So I want to get to you guys' comments. When I saw that, I was just like, oh my God, I just couldn't believe it, right? But she was 78 years old as well. So it sounds like she had some ailments, and, I'd imagine a lot goes on with you. And then all the stuff that she had been through, wow, mind you, they kept her in a male prison with men. Why? You know what I mean? So anyway, let's see who else is on here. And I hope that I know I didn't cover everything, but I tried. Fair use, how you doing? Marjorie, what's going on with you? Says, good evening, Demetria. Well, Tupac, Assata, and Afeni are together now in peace. They will always be remembered for their hard work and sacrifices in the civil rights struggle. Yeah, and there's some arguments and debate as to whether the same people that targeted his mama and his godmother and everybody else is the same people that took him out. Because there's a lot of conspiracies, and a lot of people believe that the FBI had a hand in what happened to Tupac. Yakub, how you doing? Says, I love you, Demetria. I love you as well. And yes, rest in peace to Assata. HGLC, how you doing? Yes, indeed. Stephen, what's going on? Kevin, how you doing? Common Man, how you doing? Says, Assata, rest in peace. Yes. Easy. I said I wasn't going to be here yesterday, huh? And here I am. King Noble, he says, them brothers and sisters handled their business on the New Jersey Turnpike. Did they? That's the question. Did they, or was it a setup? Well, like, what was it? Because the evidence showed that Assata was shot in her back twice. And they said that the way she was, positioned to where how she would have been shot, that she looked like she was seated when it happened. So did they pull out the car, maybe told her to get on her knees? And she says, my hands were up. They never even found any evidence on any of the weapons with her fingerprints or none of that. So, and Common Man says you were 11 years old. I was 2. Yeah, when that took place. Tracy, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Much about nothing TV. What's going on with you? Says our sister is with the ancestors. Yes, indeed. Like I said, it just every time I would hear that they wanted her, like, let's go get her, it just made my blood boil. Because it's like, first of all, okay, she's up there in age now, right? And y'all still trying to get her? Like I said, they just let out Sundiata Acoli 3 years ago at the age of 85. I guess he's not a threat anymore, right? A very old man. And there's still some Black Panthers, I think probably BLA members that are still incarcerated in their upper 70s and 80s and things like that. But that's just the cruelty of this government, because we know that a lot of them, if not most of them, were innocent. COINTELPRO. So yeah. Diane, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Arniba says kudos to Castro for giving her shelter. Yeah, so that's why I said I know this whole little black and brown thing that we talk about is not a popular one, because we know it's very problematic, but in this situation it worked. They could have said no, could have said, nah, you can't stay here, right? But they knew what she was running from. And they also knew about COINTELPRO, who's been around since the 20s, or the teens, in fact. 19 teens. The 19 teens have been around that long, messing with Black people. Even Marcus Garvey, who I believe was like the first target of COINTELPRO. So everybody knew. Everybody knew what it was. We got to keep, Black people subservient, and they cannot unify. And, we know what the mission of the Black Panther Party was, to do for self and all of that. And the Black Liberation Army was just that, to liberate Black people. and as they would say, other oppressed people, but really they were about blackness. So obviously the government didn't want that. Yes, common man. She made it to Cuba because they didn't know where she was for like 5 years or so, and then she sprung up in Cuba 5 years later. JJ, how you doing? Says just like they took out Fred Hampton, and then what's so cold is the government. They have these conversations now, right? Oh yeah, we did it because the people that were around. I mean, not that we're not affected by it, but we weren't around then. They're no longer here. So now, just like the same thing with Malcolm X. Oh yeah, we did it. But forever, they allow people to think that it was the Nation of Islam that did it. Oh, you don't know what happened, but it was the NYPD and the federal government involved. But now they're so bold. We had something to do with it, because they know that not only did they take out the leaders, and now when I say leaders, those are real leaders, right? Not only did they take out the leaders, they took out the movement. It destabilized a lot of the movement that they had. So yeah. Salam, he says Patty Hearst shot 2 people. Bank robbers was set free, pardoned twice. Yeah. And that's kind of where the whole little Stockholm syndrome thing comes from, because she ended up, as they said, she was sympathizing with her captors, right? She was just the Hearst fortune, if you will. They kidnapped her, and then they saw her on, surveillance, robbing banks, and they were like, oh, she was brainwashed type of thing. But more important, she was rich and she was white. So yeah. And you know what? I'm old enough to remember when all that was going on. It was on the news, and then they made a movie of the week or something like that about it. I remember watching all of that. And Sister Shirley, did I say hello to you? Not hello. Constance, how you doing? Says Sundiata Coley Clark Squire worked at NASA. They don't like to mention that. Exactly. So they try to make it seem like these people were just some, street urchins, just up to no good. But a lot of these people have something going on. Assata was college educated as well, but they don't like to talk about that. They want you to think that's how they do talk about Black people in general, even to this day. Like we're nothing, we're stupid, we're low IQ. But it was like, nah, they knew who they was messing with. They knew. And they knew that they had the ability to, bring Black people, because we had a little bit more unity back then. But we got to remember, especially the United States government, COINTELPRO, they was like, nah, we got to stop that. We can't have them unifying, because then what will that do to us? See, they knew our unity was not going to be good for them. But good catch. Let's see. Priscilla, how you doing? Says Jersey here. So you probably know all about this, right? Jersey City here says she was an angel on earth and nothing will change that. Absolutely. But again, I know those people probably really salty. And of course, they even like the news coverage that I've seen. I haven't seen much because I haven't been online that much, but the ones that I've seen is they bring that up first. Oh, she was an escaped, prisoner, and all that other stuff. It's like we ain't paying attention to that. We know who she really was. African Native, how you doing? RJ, how you doing? Says long live the Queen. Absolutely. And Common Man says including South Africa. Sister Shirley says, I remember Joanne Chesamard, Assata Shakur, or when she dated a young man in my neighborhood. All right. So do you have any memories of her other than that? That's very interesting. Very interesting. Common Man says Cuba ain't no joke. Yeah, they told the United States, y'all not fit, because they, like they always do, they want to go and do foul, filthy things in other people's country, destabilize the country and all of that. And Fidel was like, no, go do that in somebody else's. So you have to ban pigs, all this other stuff. And then who are they trading, where they were accused of anyway? Trading weapons with, was it Russia? My memory's kind of foggy right now. Yeah, so Common Man, $1 million from the FBI and $1 million from the state of New Jersey. So it was $2 million. Constance says Fidel Castro offer free medical training as doctors for 6 years only, that they come back to their countries and help their people. Yeah, and even recently as the pandemic, the Cuba was like, yo, we'll send doctors over and all kind of stuff, but the United States didn't want that. But yeah, you can go to Cuba, where you could, I don't know about now, but and be trained as medical doctors. And that was kind of the point of contention between Castro and Bautista, why Bautista was overthrown, because it was a haven really for the rich, right? It was just such a line of demarcation between the rich and the poor. And then, of course, with the help of Che Guevara, they overthrew him, and then they, in a sense, stabilized Cuba for everybody. So it's kind of like a socialism, if you will, and that kind of was. And even to the point of, I think even now, don't quote me, but they have one of the highest reading levels in the world. Back then, it was like 97%. And it was very, very low before all of that. So yeah. Salam says, Assata Shakur is very beautiful, pretty black sister. Yes, indeed she was. Absolutely. Jay, so you're talking to somebody else. And Easy says, Afeni, and it was something you said, and I forget. I'm getting old. A work in progress. It says, oh, okay, thank you for clarifying. It's my pleasure. Yes. Oh, so you're talking to somebody else. Afeni is Tupac's mom. Yes. And she's passed on as well. Sister Shirley says, I also read her book. It was very good read. Oh my God. It was just so well written. I impress upon everybody to read it. Assata, an autobiography, just beautifully put together. And like I said, I read it years ago, and my mind was just blown, and I wanted to know more about her. Complex Blackness, how you doing? Says, pulling that off today with the type of black folks we have. Okay, I know where she is. I know who you talking about. She over there. I don't know. And with the day and age of social media and people texting and talking, okay, we gonna do that. How they did it, and she never would say, because she said she didn't want to get the people, who helped her in trouble. So she was very esoteric when it came to certain things about the escape and all that other stuff. But as far as I know, it doesn't sound like they ever caught the people. I don't know. I haven't heard if they did, but they was looking for her for a minute. And she's like, hello, I'm in Cuba. King Noah says, all that she faced while incarcerated, yet they couldn't break her. Come on now. And they couldn't. And they tried to. Like, they did some of the worst things you can think of to her. Ugh. Boy, every time I think about it, it makes me mad. Tahada, how you doing? Says, rest with love, Assata Shakur. Yep. Arneva says, one of my best friends was in the BLA. Yep. Yeah, Tracy says, almost like Mamiya. And they've been trying to get him out. He's got to be close to 90 now, right? Give or take. I don't know. It's sad. And then they let them out when they're very elderly. It's like we broke them, right? They're old. They can't do nothing now. And yeah, that's the United States government. And it's really sad. Easy says, I remember Krispy Kreme, Christy Down, former governor of New Jersey, mentioned her name. Yeah, that was one of his battle cries. We're going to get her, right? We're going to make sure we bring her to justice. Okay. You better bring them buttons together. That's what you need to be doing. Salon says she has returned to Allah peace. Yep. African Native says even Che Guevara came to Congo to help the revolution, but people didn't understand the struggle. Yeah, Che was all over the place, right? From Argentina, went to Bolivia, then ended up in Cuba, and he was studying to be a doctor. But I guess he was more or less like, well, yeah, I could be a doctor and help people, but people need other type of help, right? They need a revolutionary. And he and Malcolm were cool. They understood the struggle and things like that. And they, being Fidel and Che, they often spoke up about the plight of Black Americans in America at that time. So, yeah. Hey, D-Mac, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Easy, not Krispy Kreme Christy. I think he lost a lot of weight or something. As Trump said, he took the fat shot. He need to take the fat shot. Anyway, I know, D-Mac, I'm supposed to be off, but then, Assata Shakur passed away, and I was like, I just kind of want to talk about it. Like I said, she's a huge inspiration to me, and just being courageous and smart, and she, like somebody said, she was unbreakable. She would not allow them to break her, even up until her passing. She maintained her innocence. And they never was able to catch up to her. And that brings me great joy, because even at this ripe old age, they were going to still try to bring her to justice. It's like, y'all might want to go back and look at the evidence, because a lot of people said clearly it exonerated her, but they don't care. That they'll make it fit, Will, how you doing? Hope you're doing well today. And Daweed, I know I said that wrong, but how you doing? It says she back home. I know Pakanafini, Matula, Gaddafi, Napoleon are all happy. Absolutely. HDLC says I've seen Assata Shakur on Facebook and on TV shows. She wasn't hiding. Well, in Cuba, she wasn't hiding, because she had asylum. They granted her political asylum, so there was no need to hide. And like it take an effort for somebody to go over there and try to snatch her up. And Cuba was like, we're not going to let y'all do that. We're not sending her back, and we're not going to aid you all in bringing her to justice, because they knew it was bull caca, for a lack of words or better words, as to why she was even there in the first place. So yeah, work in progress. She says that's not surprising that Obama administration doubled down on the bounty. Shaking my head. Well, this is play on words too, because they try to say that the FBI operates independently of the president, but we know, especially nowadays, that that's not true. While he made some statements like it was just kind of, obviously it was his administration, right? But he kind of tried to back away from it when he started to get a lot of backlash from Black people. Like, wait a minute, what? You of all people shouldn't be trying to help them get a Assata. At the least you could do, right? So yeah, he took some heat for that. Yes, common man, the white Cubans, they got up out of there when Castro got in office. It was like, no, thank you. Steven says, rips, Sister Shakur, yep. Will says, oh, you been to Cuba? No, I haven't been to Cuba. I'd like to go. It's kind of hard to go. You got to do a couple of things here and there to get there, because the travel is still kind of weird between the United States and Cuba. You got to get special permission or something. It's not like, oh, hey, I want to book a trip to Cuba. Here's my passport. It's a little bit more, but I'd love to go. My brother actually went not too long ago, and he was just in love with Cuba. Ishmael, how you doing? You say shalom to you as well. Antoine, how you doing? He says, I watched a video tour of Kankakee, Illinois on YouTube. It showed up on my recommendations. Remembering your story from yesterday. Oh, Kankakee. It's like a dot in the middle of the on the map, right? It's like all places Kankakee. Yeah. Easy says, at least you didn't go suffering in the United States prison. Yeah, totally. Renz, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. October, Opal, how you doing? Long time no see. He says, rip, yes indeed, finally in peace. Bakari, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. The common man says, there's only one Black Panther still in prison in New York. His name is Thomas Tahaka Gaither. He was arrested for killing 2 cops. Yeah, then there's different like the BLA and Black Panther Party and other things, Black activists, if you will, that are still in there. Maybe not at this point. Maybe a lot of them have gone on. Like I said, Sundiata, he got paroled 2022. So yeah. Brother Samuel, how you doing? Says, I believe it was the former mayor of Jackson, ancestor Chokui Lumumba. And I know I jacked his first name up. He says, who also represented Tupac, also represented Assata, his son, maybe Antar Lumumba was the most recent mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, and I know who he is, but I always jack his name up, but absolutely. Okay, so common man, you're saying the one that you're speaking of is in his late 70s, early 80s, as most of them would be, right? King Noble says they wanted to get Assata, but let the devil. Come on now. Carolyn Bryant live out the rest of her days without being held accountable for lying on Emmett Till. Yeah, they wanted Assata to this moment, to the moment she passed. They were out to get her. But like you said, Carolyn Bryant, who admitted to doing, but then she said she didn't say it, but then she said it in the book, but then she didn't say it. They was like, and this was the Biden administration, right? It wasn't Trump. It was the Biden administration says, well, she said she didn't do it. So we're going to close the case. The DOJ, we're going to close it. She says she didn't do it. Okay. Bakari says, revolutionary love. Thanks for being an example of resilience and a freedom fighter. Absolutely. Hey, Pop, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Easy says, D, remember Joe Biden did not want to convict. I should have read your comment. Didn't want to convict Carolyn Bryant. See how these hypocrites work? Yeah, they said she didn't do it. She said she didn't do it, okay? We're going to close the case. Uh let's see. Your average logical thinker, how you doing? Yes, rip to Queen Assata. African Native says they did the same to Patrice Lumumba, MLK, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton. The list is non-exhaustive. Yeah, now they're heroes. You can go to a Target or anywhere else and get a T-shirt, with their faces on it, because now they're these heroes. They get stamps and streets and all kind of movies, all kind of stuff named after them. It's just sick. Comment says, you really did your homework. Yeah, but I've studied Assata. And Che Guevara. See, I don't be up here just be talking, right? I know a little something. But I was raised that way, right? From my mom and my dad. I had two stepdad and my biological father. They were all very smart. In fact, my mom would often hear, all of your children are smart. And the grandchildren too. She's like, I guess. But my mom was really smart. So yeah. And thank you, your average logical thinker, love and appreciate you for that. And for asking everybody to hit the like button. Much About Nothing TV says, I remember being a kid and my mom woke me up and said, don't know what today is. I said, no. I think she said, don't know what today is. I said, no. She says, they let Mandela out today. I didn't even know who that was, but I was so happy. Yes, indeed. Of course, we know that was he was a prisoner and a victim of apartheid. He was trying to end it, and they was like, yeah, give us this damn near 30 years of your life. So yeah, I was in high school. Remember hearing about all that. So yeah, in the 80s. You also say your mama was a Panther. Okay. They have Black Panthers around now. I see them, but I just see them kind of thing. Will, thank you so much. Love and appreciate you for that super sticker. It means a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bakari says, shout out to Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, revolutionaries of the same struggle. Yeah, they were. Of course, there are some unhappy endings with that, but yeah, they did some great things for Cuba and bringing it's to making it equitable as much as they could for everybody, which is why you got a lot of my Cubans population in a lot of Cuban population in Miami, because they fled after Bautista was overthrown. So yep. Let's see. JJ says, Patty Hearst, a white woman from a rich family, joined the radical violent group, but the establishment went easier on her. Yeah, because they tried to say she was a victim of Stockholm syndrome. She was brainwashed, right? But at the end of the day, I'm like, y'all, she was a rich white woman who's, she was young, but probably met somebody and it was, so adventurous. Oh, do you mind if I tag along? Because, I'm tired of tennis and, all these things. And I believe that's probably what happened. But like you said, she got yep. Tracy says they still know our unity is not good for them, which is why they keep us distracted with each and everything you can think of. They keep us distracted. Well, it's music, television, this, that. It's just we're like this, right? They just throw stuff out there and we just go and we talk about that for 2 and 3 days, and then they throw something else out there and nobody's. And I didn't see it. My daughter was telling me about Dr. Umar. He went and saw Tiana Taylor's new movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. He liked the movie, but then he didn't like all the snow bunny hopping and all this other stuff. It's like, man, you could have kept all that to yourself. You know what I mean? Now you're going to start up a conversation with people. Yeah, there's snow bunny hopping. Just, if you don't want to see the movie, don't go see the movie, right? But don't make it a discussion. I don't know. Who am I? African Native says, Demetria, when you are in jail for political reasons, you are subject to mediocre scientific experimental drugs. I'd imagine so, and then some, but they were horrible to her. She talked about them putting stuff in her eyes and all kind of stuff, So she was like, yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here. Marjorie says, I was in my teens when the Black Panthers were on the move in St. Louis, Missouri. I used to purchase all my Black civil rights books on Taylor Avenue. A brother named James owned it. My dad went there too. What a time to be alive, huh? I was born in Berkeley, California, Northern California, raised in Southern California, but born in Berkeley. So, of course, you know what was going on there during that time. I was born in 71, so it might have started to trickle down a little bit. But up north, San Francisco, Berkeley, and all that was a hotbed for Black liberation, Black Panther Party, and things like that. Common Man says, you grew up in New Jersey. Okay, so of course, you heard all about it as well. Much About Nothing TV says, do you listen to Tariq Nasheed? No, I don't. And I don't listen to a lot of people for various reasons. I know who they are. I mean, who doesn't know about Hidden Colors and things like that, right? I even bought the last movie he did. It wasn't the hip hop one. It was the one before that. I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, so I know who he is. I just make it a habit not to listen to a whole lot of people, just for various reasons, but I am familiar with him. I used to back in the day. Diane, how you doing? Says FBA B1. Yes, easy. God, am I that behind? So Russia, they were, accused of trading arms with Russia. Yep. Yeah, average logical thinker. Shout out to Fidel. Rest in peace to him as well. Well, he says, destabilize countries is better said. That's what they do. United States, they do that everywhere. And that was kind of the point of contention. Oh, gosh. I don't want to mess it up, so I won't say it. But yeah, they were trying to do that there in Cuba. Pop says, nobody wanted their mayonnaise encrusted $2 million. Danny dollars. Yeah, you know, who was going to go over there and get it, right? I'm sure other bounty hunters and stuff was talking about doing it, but they was like, yeah, no, Cuba, they about that life. Telvin, how you doing? Says, no Black and Brown coalition until LULAC apologized, and they better not talk to the non-Black American caucus about our issues. Yeah, no, LULAC has made it clear. But, you know, it was so weird because even when Kamala was running for president, they endorsed her. In fact, she was their first political endorsement, and they never in the history of their organization have endorsed anybody politically, but they endorsed Kamala. And we know why without them saying it is because she was very pro immigration, right? I think. But there were some people in their organization that was mad. They was like, we don't do that. But somebody jumped the gun and was like, yeah, no, we're going to endorse her. So it was never done before by LULAC. But you're right. They have said they want nothing to do with us. So much about nothing. TV says Iran Contra. I think that was after. Don't quote me. After all of that with Fidel, that was Reagan, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is where Donovan would come in handy. Easy says, do you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? Yep. When they allegedly were on the brink of war. Yes, in 1960s. And so, yeah, that's what they were saying, that they were going to, all hell was going to broke loose due to the missile crisis and all that other stuff. It's probably a lot of it was manufactured. As what the United States government do a lot. They manufacture these crises so they could try to take out the leaders, but they just couldn't do it with Cuba because they was like, don't come over here, okay? And so, of course, there was these embargoes and things, which is why if you're over there, my brother says when he was there, they got cars from like the 1960s and 50s and no newer cars because, you know, they couldn't get imports and things like that. So, yeah. Will says, is that right? Wow. I love your research, Demetria. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You know, I got to know a little something. Albie Chill says, that's why these goofy debate disingenuous arguments are null. We have time and time again pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps only to have them sabotage us. Yeah, that's what they like to do. The minute they see us getting up, then they like, they look a little bit too much like Black unity. Now I remember in the late 80s and the 90s, man, the conscious movement, you just had to be there if you weren't there. I tell my daughter all the time, man, you don't know what you missed not being born. She's born in the 90s, but in the 80s and things like that, where we were very conscious, you know, PE and all that, X-Clan, just a whole host of Brand Nubians, everybody, right? All they were very conscious. And then you start to see the music change into like, right? You start to see like your little Kims and all them, your Foxy Browns and all the other stuff. Now, of course, NWA, many believe that was kind of the juxtaposition, if you will, to the conscious music. A lot of people will argue that. And of course, if you know who Jerry Heller is, you know. But during that time, Black people, we were feeling black and proud again and all of that. And then it just went, and here we are. So, yeah. One who cares, did I say hello to you? Like all the days run together for me sometimes, but if not, hello. It says Lucky Day, Demetra K. Yes, I am here, and so are you. Marjorie, you say, in college, we talk about her a lot. That's when we had, Black professors who were social activists and historians of Black history. Now, today's Trump and his minions want to erase our history. Nope. But see, we here right now, right? We here right now in this very moment talking about Assata Shakur and the things that she did and, her life. So as long as we continue to tell those stories, we don't care what Trump says, what his minions say, or anybody. Because we are the gatekeepers to our stories, and they ain't gonna tell it right. Because if you listen to one of them right now, the first thing they're gonna lead with is, "Oh, she's a criminal. She was all, the most wanted," and that's what they gonna lead with. But we lead with, what she was trying to do for the liberation of Black people, and how there's no doubt in our minds that she was caught up in COINTELPRO, and they fashioned these things against her and others. African Native says Mandela release was consensual. Yeah, after damn near 30 years, right? Bakari says Assata is one of my favorite revolutionary sheroes. Mine too. Kenneth, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Joe, what's going on with you down on the building? African Native says even Malcolm X came to Africa. Yep. Ernest says Black and Brown unity went out with the 90s. They showed serious disdain for Black people, but yet they want to be us. Plus they are against reparations. So there is no Black and Brown unity. Yeah, there's not. And, in utopia, at an ideal society somewhere, it should be, right? Because we know, and even the Black Panthers, they were for the liberation of Black people, but they knew everybody else had struggles. And in fact, that's how Assata became conscious, because she learned about the Vietnam War and all the things that were going on, which a lot of people became conscious, and they were anti-war and things like that. And so that's how a lot of times too, you hear the Triple K Club and the Black Panther Party. Sometimes you hear them together. You even heard about them having conversations with Marcus Garvey, and a lot of people get that wrong. I see some people who do not like Marcus Garvey now. They'll try to say, "Oh, well, he was talking to the KKK." What I understand, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had conversation with the KKK, and it wasn't that they were bowing down to the KKK or they were in with the agents or anything like that. They was like, "Hey, we got common enemies. The government is our enemy." The KKK, they feel like the government is their enemy. So that's why they would have these conversations like, "Okay, we don't like you and we don't like you, but our common ground is this. So how can we get to that faster so we can kind of go on about our separate ways?" So yeah. But as far as this whole little unity thing in Black and Brown, I don't know if it'll ever be. But again, as we always say, when we talk about Black and Brown unity, is usually the Black helping the Brown and never the Brown helping the Black. But I felt like I would be remiss in not bringing this up, especially in regards to Assata, because we because the sad part about it is, had she remained a prisoner, we'd be talking about her every once in a while, just in maybe never, right? But we talk about her and we know about her because her escape was so courageous. And really nobody knows, right? They think maybe she escaped out of a hole somewhere, but nobody really knows, because she's like, "I'm not telling. Just know that I'm not there no more." So yeah. Willie says her soul lives in you now. Well, you know what? That is, that's amazing. Just to even think about that. I hope that I could even measure up to even 1/10 of that, right? Tracy said, but Emmett Till got off scot-free. You mean Carolyn Bryant? HDLC says Fidel Castro stayed in Harlem Hotel when he came to visit New York City. Sure did. Joe says, Demetra, you're from LA originally. My family's from Los Angeles. I grew up mostly in the Inland Empire, but my father was born in Los Angeles, so we lived there for a while. But yeah, I guess you could kind of say that. But I spent most of my time in the IE, which is 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so from Los Angeles. So yeah. I will say, Will, you say, it's Will, all good, Demetra. Ain't that what I said? Did I say Will? Or did I say something else? I know who you are. um, One cat says, no, Obama put his paws on her asylum. He wanted her jailed. Yeah, he kind of kept on trying to back away from it, not really own it, but it's like, man, that happened under your FBI, per se. Albie Chili says, we need an evolution and a revolution, right? Will says, I love how you look past my moniker. I know who you are. Margaret says, my granddaughter is named Afeni. Her dad gave her that name. He's a zaddy. Her dad. Yeah. Well, okay. So you said my granddaughter's name is Afeni. Her dad gave her that name. He's a zaddy. What's that? I know what it is, but what do you mean it the same way that I know it to be? Much about nothing. He says my homeboy was cellmates with Matula for like years. Okay. Who else? Shan, how you doing? I'm happy to see you as well. Frank, what's going on with you? Says U.S. put sanctions on Cuba. Shaking my head. Yeah, they tried to bully him, but they was like, we're not gonna be bullied. We don't care if you never send anything else in here brand new again. We said what we said, right? During the JFK administration, we said what we said. You're not gonna bully us. And then plus, like I said, they want to take their filthy selves over there and just do what they want, as they always do. So Fidel was like, Will says, my research is phenomenal. It could be better. Sometimes I'm a little lazy. I'm trying to get better, but thank you. Easy. It says, you can enter from Canada to Cuba. Hence, you may need a dual citizenship, but Canadians are welcome to Cuba. So you kind of have to like circumvent it. I'd love to go. Diane says, Assata Shakur was a beautiful, bold, brave, and strong Black sister. I truly admire her strength. Same. I really do. I was because I saw it early today, like early this morning, somebody had announced that she had passed, but then I, of course, went on the internet, did research, and didn't say that she did. And then like hours later, I logged back on and I saw that I guess it had been official. And then I went to her daughter's page and saw the announcement that she had passed. All right, so let me skip down and realize I was so behind. Asha, how you doing? So the Trump administration tried to go after her recently in like 2021 or something like that. They tried to. But they were like, man, we gonna mention it and leave it alone because we're not gonna be able to go over there and get her. JJ says, notice that not one of these so-called Black university scholars has made any comments about her passing. I saw actually Mark Lamont Hill. I don't know how much of a university scholar he is, but I saw him talk about it. I saw what's that cat's name? Torre. I seen him mention it. So there's people probably, talking about it now, but I've seen a few people mentioning her passing. Cut from a different cloth. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Pop says, word had out that old Charlie Kirk's parents are what? Siblings. This explains a lot why he's a total a-hole with you know what? I heard that. Listen, stranger things have happened, okay? Stranger things have. Is he from Utah? No, is he from? Where is it? Don't give me the line. No, he's from Chicago. Shan says, how can wife will be homeless nowadays when they got everything from them? So I don't know. I think your comment maybe got jumbled up a little bit. D, how you doing? Says economic boycott. Boy, I wish we would just finally get that message. I really do. I wish one day we'd just get that message. I really do. I don't know what it's going to take. But yeah. Let's see. Skipping on down. Common Man. He says Jaleel Montaquim. Says the former Black Panther who has been in prisons for 47 years, having been denied release for the 9th time by a New York State parole board. Yeah, it's just evil at this point. It's evil. And there's no hope in them at all. They people do the most heinous things and get out. But our people got to rot and die in there. That's why I just, it makes me mad really when I think about it because I report on these stories sometimes and it takes a lot out of me because it pisses me off that this has got to be hell. This is kind of how I think about it sometimes. you know. And it's sad, even with all the stuff we know with COINTELPRO and all that other stuff, they're going to die on the heel of, you know, keeping them in there. And it's sad. Narma, how you doing? It says peace and love. It says these other groups are only pro-black when we don't roll the red carpet for them. Yeah. Greater achievements. It says American Maroon. Okay. Who else? John Hill, how you doing? Sister Shirley says, I remember the guy she dated name was David. He was very good looking and a lot of young women liked him. I bet. Easy says embargo, not economic starvation without violence. Okay. Magnetter, how you doing? You know what, the other day I meant to thank you for the donation that you gave, but I didn't see it. It kind of scrolled up, but thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that I was able to thank you now. Tracy says, we sure were very conscious till the pale man stepped into the scene, starting with NWA. Yeah, if y'all know, you know, cut from a different cloth, says crack hit and took away black consciousness. Yeah, it was all just like, seemed like the same time, right? They saw us, you know, really becoming conscious, and they was like, oh, hell no, that's dangerously close. And so from that, we really just been totally destabilized completely. Take that. Hey, Diddy, is that you? How you doing? He says, they don't get it. They think the conservatives are friends. No, they see them as slaves. None of them are our friends, right? Yes, Pop says PEX Clan scared the hell out of Pink America. You ain't lying. Will says modern music is a headache trap and all that. It is. It's just, it's the worst, right? JJ says Cuba has probably the world's greatest intelligence and counter-intelligence organization because the U.S. has tried to kill about 30 times and failed. Yeah, they sure did. And they knew it. Yeah, Fear of a Black Planet, Pop, PE. Steven says, our history can never be erased, even them trying. Yep. Miss KJ Smooth. I'm sorry, Mr. KJ Smooth. How you doing? Says black and brown is non-existent. Yeah, well, this one time it worked because Cubans are brown. They're considered the brown, right? And they welcome our dear Queen Mother over there, and they protected her until she passed on. Jerron, how you doing? Says, have to finish watching later. Well, thank you. Sister Shirley says, my first husband served in the Vietnam War for 2 tours. And yeah, it took a toll. There's a series on Netflix that I want to watch about the Vietnam War. I like watching stuff like that. But yeah, it took a toll. And the United States got they can kicked. And the Vietnamese said, black man, don't come over here. This ain't your war. I tell you all the time. My dad, they drafted him, and he was like, I'm not going because he's a Nation of Islam. And they thought he was crazy. And if you look into his files nowadays, I'm sure in regards to that whole era of them trying to draft him, they labeled him crazy. Because he was like, I'm an Asiatic black man, and I'm not going to Vietnam to take nobody's life. Because when I come back here, you ain't going to protect mine. I'm a N-word here now, and when I come back, I'm gonna still be that. So I'm not. And it was, they were. It was against, Nation of Islam for them to even go to war. So my dad risked going to jail for 5 years. But they was like, man, he crazy. Get him out of here, because they kept on bringing him back, and he kept on saying the same thing. Nope. And he's like, you're not an Asiatic black man. And he's like, oh yes, I am. Right. So yeah, it messed a lot of people up. Common Man says the brown wants to be white, so they said F the black. They never could be dependent on. We are on our own. I totally agree with you. And Easy says, let me get this. Albie Chili says you have to talk to your enemy to understand them. That's Thai military mind. That's how military mind works. And Easy says, D, absolutely correct. Remember that old Klansman on a Donahue show? Yep. Man, that was a show, wasn't it? 1980s and early 90s. Named Tom Metzger. I sure do. He often said, why won't government listen to the nations on separating the races? Yeah, so that's why they talked. It wasn't because they, were agents or nothing. They was like, nah, let's figure out how to get on the same page. Contador, how you doing? Says Black and Brown African Americans and the Mexican Revolution, 1910 and 1920 by Gerald Horne is a good read. It predates the Black and Brown unity that would come later. Interesting. And, I'd like to read it. Because I like to read a whole lot of stuff. And I told y'all, almost an hour that I'm reading this. Somebody bought it for me because they asked me my opinion about it because they had watched a whole bunch of interviews and stuff. And I said, I can't form an opinion off of some interviews you watched of people, who may or may not have read it. So I said, you buy me the book, I read it. So I'm reading it, and I'm going to give y'all my opinion on it as I go along. So yeah. Let's see. Tahada says, when I come to Houston, can I take you to Fuegos for the night? I'll have you home by 11 p.m. Sure, why not? And what's Fuegos, by the way? Fair Use says, sounds like a great inheritance. All right. Daryl, how you doing? Says, white supremacists always want to punish her, but Trump and and company wanted to get her as a lick back for the so-called BLM riots. Yep. It wasn't going to happen. Hey, Pete, how you doing? Sharif, what's going on with you? Says Town Bees, Oakland. So are you from Oakland as well? We weren't there long. That's a long story. In fact, my mom wrote a book about it. It's a long story. Who else is on here? Siku, how you doing? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Eduardo, what's going on with you? Says she's going back to the USA. Who? Assata? She's gone on. It ain't gonna be the USA. They lost. USA, they can hang that up, go find something else to do. Okay. She lived her whole life without being captured by the United States. So yeah, she's not, unless they bringing her body back here. I don't know. And then they so damn evil, they might try to put her body in prison. Hey, Mike, nice. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Text, what's going on with you? Says she isn't North American. That's the point. And the term is described. What she is wasn't an insult. And I'm sorry, I know I'm so far behind. I don't even know what that's in regards to. He says it's like some famous Cuban singer described as being Jewish when she was clearly mixed black on her mom's side. Okay, so he's saying some Cuban singer. And that could be anybody, right? Much About Nothing TV says it's not hell, me moving into position. He said it's not hell, we're moving into position. Got you. David, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Benita, what's up? He says they had plenty of chances to arrest Carolyn Bryant and they had every excuse not to. Yeah, because she said she didn't do it. She said she didn't do it. And that y'all could think, you could thank Biden. You better thank Biden and them. Or his DOJ anyway for saying, oh yeah, we're dropping a charge. We're not dropping a charge, but we're just closing the case. Nothing here. Right? But yet they want to try to do all these little, Emmett Till bills and all this other stuff. And, it's just nonsense. But you wouldn't bring the lady who lied on him to justice? Because they're like, at the end of the day, that is what she was. She's gone now, right? Rest in peace to you. But she's still a white woman. At the end of the day, they're like, we're not bringing this old white woman to justice. So that they couldn't do it, and they weren't never going to do it. Even though they like to commemorate, Emmett Till and all this other nonsense they got going on. Not that commemorating him is nonsense, but they are. Yeah, Tahada, yeah, my daddy was Will says, yes, it's rough, that war stuff. Oh, yeah. African Native says, I could not view your email in your profile. DimitriK@gmail.com. That one, DimitriK@gmail.com. Jihadi, how you doing? Says Muhammad Ali refused to go to war. Yep, and he lost his boxing license and a whole lot of stuff, right? It took him a while to come to get back to where he was. And some argue that because he did that, it cost him a lot, money and just time, to kind of really get back to where he was, because they punished him. Because he was like, nah, at that time, he was, it wasn't Cassius Clay no more. But yeah, he lost a lot. They called them conscious objectors. I think that was a term that they were. A lot of people call them cowards, and you didn't want to do your duty to the country. But it's like, even before that, my daddy was born in 1944, so of course he heard about the soldiers that would come back from the previous wars, and black soldiers, right, and being in their uniforms and all of that. But they had knowledge of self, especially via the Nation of Islam. So there was just things they weren't going to do. But my dad was like, I'm not going to pick up arms. And the Vietnamese said, black man, don't come over here. This ain't your war. We don't have beef with y'all. Our beef is with them. So, Vietnamese was like, don't do it. But some of them were like, well, that or go to jail. And even at that time, they had with the amnesty program where they would allow prisoners to go get out and go fight in war and stuff like that. So, yeah. Mike, rip to Assata. Let's see. Who else haven't I seen? Because I'm over my time. Thank you, Will. Appreciate that. Text says the only North Americans are black. No, the only North Africans are black. And I'm confused. So what does that mean? If you don't mind enlightening me. Monet, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Sayla, what's going on with you? Says Cow Business Michelle. Yay area, stand up. Yeah, I wasn't actually there that long. I was there as a baby. But yeah, familiar with the Yay area. I got a niece up there now. My daughter went to school up there. When I say up there, I'm acting like I'm in Southern California still. Bakari, it says the fake and Germans are still at this killing off the indigenous Americans. Sayla says they should have made Carolyn Bryant pay restitution to the descendants of Emmett family. Well, no, she wasn't guilty. That she said she did. They weren't going to make that lady do nothing. But I will say this. Malik Shabazz, I think that's his name, and I think it's one of many factions of the Black Panther Party. They was on her pasty behind until she died, and she would just be moving, right? And they'd be like, hello, we ain't forgot Heifer, right? And so her family would be like, can y'all just please just leave her alone? And they're like, no, her husband and them could have left Emmett alone, but they didn't. So why should she live in peace? So they was on her bumper until she passed. That I will say, they would not let up. They were in hot pursuit of having her, convicted and all of that. And it's like, okay, bet y'all not gonna convict her. Well, then we gonna convict her because we gonna be everywhere she moved. We gonna move right with her. And they did. Easy says, D, I remember the new Black Panther Party. Well, man, you stop reading my mind. I should have read your comment. You said, I remember the new Black Panther Party. It was on Carolyn Bryant's ass. I should have read your comment. Like a bill collector showing up at her son's house, where she thought she was safe. Yeah, she moved like different states and stuff too. And it was like, hello, man, I should have read your comment. Let's see, Norma. You say, you're welcome, Will. You say jail is better than fighting the enemy's war, and a lot of them was like, if that's where I gotta go, that's where I gotta go. But again, the Vietnamese is like, don't do it. Don't do it. Bakari says these devils must pay for their atrocities against our ancestors, and they will. Gilbert, how you doing? Hope you're well. I made it to the bottom. Marjorie say reparations. Yep. Will says my job taking me to South Carolina in about a year and a half now. Interesting conversation. So you got to move to South Carolina. South Carolina is not that bad. I've never been, but that sounds like it's a nice place to be. Gullah Geechee and all that. I've been researching my lineage, if you will. And on my father's side, I've gotten to the 1700s. That's as far as I've gotten now. And our relative from the 1700s was originally in South Carolina. That's as far as I've gotten. And then, of course, they moved to Texarkana, Arkansas area. So, yeah. Interesting. Sayla says, demons generally have a long-ass lifespan. You ain't lying, right? You ain't lying to see like the most evil people just like, I'm not going nowhere. Brother Salam says, I also love Winnie Mandela, not Nelson. Yeah, and they said Winnie was doing some stuff she wasn't supposed to be doing, but they're probably lying on her too. Anyway, I love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here with me on Friday when neither one of us are supposed to be here per se. But I will be back here Sunday with Donovan. I think he's ready to get back to work now. He is fresh back from the DR. So we'll both be here. But in the meantime, let's see. Derek, how you doing? Says seize the time. Yep. Emma, how you doing? Says I could deal with North Carolina. South Carolina was too prejudice for me. Well, yeah, especially now they out there and they want that land, the Gullah Geechee land. They want that land. They being on white folks. Of course, we've heard all about the stuff that they're doing, trying to take their land. And, it's our land now. But you guys got to remember, and of course, I'm preaching to the choir, that when our ancestors got that land after the Civil War, it was marshland. It was undesirable land, right? It was just swampy. And white folks are like, we don't want that. And then, of course, when we made it out of something, it's like, oh, that looks like waterfront property. and we want it. And even to this very day, they have gone about the business of stealing the land. I remember that her name skips my mind. The Queen Mother, she passed on, but they were trying to take her land, some real estate development company, and they wanted to build housing tracts. In fact, they started to do that. They was tearing up her property, encroaching on her land and stuff. And Tyler Perry, Snoop, and a couple other people got involved, got her legal help, and she won. And the real estate company had to back off, but they were building, they literally built a housing tract around her property that has been in her family since the end of the Civil War. And then these, I almost said something to get me in trouble on here. They did that to her. So, of course, she passed on before, they could really finish everything. But Tyler Perry, as many problems as he's got, he says, don't worry, to her family, I'm going to make good on my promise. And I rebuilt the property and all kind of stuff. So as much as criticism that we have for Tyler Perry, and I have a lot, I think we also need to, high five him every once in a while, because he was like, I'm going to make it right. And I'm going to do whatever I can, again, with Snoop, who gets a lot of pushback as well, to make sure that these devils back up off of her. And they did. For how you doing? It says, can you tell your mom to stop blocking my account? And what's your real name? So I can look and see. Tell me your real name before I leave, because so I can see. Because clearly you're not blocked with that name, right? Just want to, Venus, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Yep, absolutely. One who cares says, shout out to the new Black Panther Party for staying on Carolyn's neck. Yes, and that's the story we don't tell often, is that she died without consequence, but they was on her till she probably took her last breath, listening to them say, you devil. They was on her bumper. She probably like, listen, let me go and check up out of here, because I'm not going to get no peace. Because, she had this, mask on. She couldn't walk and breathe. And people, like you said, Easy, her son was like, oh, she's an old lady now. It's like, well, it would have been nice if Emmett was able to live to be an old man. Why should she be special? Like, we don't give a damn. Let me get out here if I get too riled up, because y'all know how I get. I see your name on here. Did somebody block text again? Because I see you on here. Pop, are you blocking text again? Don't block text. I have to unblock him now. I don't see him doing anything wrong. So now you're gonna make me go in and unblock him. So yeah, please stop blocking text, please. Sayle says, I'm Gullah Geechee in Creole. What these crackers done them, made me say that word. Done to my grandma's people in the Low Country is infuriating. So you know what they're doing. Easy says she tried to write a book. Yeah, she did. It was The Blood or something like the Blood of Emmett Till, of all names, was the name of the book. It's like, she said she did it, but then they're saying, oh, she was out of her right mind. She didn't know what she was saying. It's like, yeah, you knew what she was saying. And if you was out of your right mind, oftentimes when you getting kind of loopy at that age, you be saying stuff, you be telling the truth and not really wanting to be doing that. Tracy says, Demetra, I blocked his, I'm not Black American. Well, that's okay if he says he's Black American, Afro-Cuban. That's why the mom blocked me. Well, I mean, Castro, you can look at Castro and see he has some Afro in him. I mean, come on. Are we fighting over that? You can look at Castro and see that. Look at his hair. And like, y'all, I ain't trying to be here much longer than I am now, but they got African in them as well. They just different parts of the world. So that, I don't know why that would make anybody mad. Yeah. Isn't it nice that we can just all get along? Tracy says, Demetra, you have to see what was going on. I didn't see. Immediately, I don't read all of the comments, but I think text is pretty solid. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I love every last one of y'all, though. No matter what happens, I love each and every last one of y'all. Be back here Sunday, please, with a good conversation. Say Light says, I didn't know Castro's mom was Afro-Cuban. That's what's up. But did you know Justin Trudeau's former PM of Canada is Fidel's son? Look at the picture of them side by side, spitting image. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I really didn't. Breon, how you doing? It says CIA and FBI is a terrorist to the world. You ain't lying. And, you know, it is said that the CIA meddled a lot in Cuba. Listen, we're going to be here all day, but I do love every last one of y'all. Thank y'all so much for everything that you do. Once again, I'll see y'all Sunday. Peace.